From Toronto, Canada, The Conspiracy Show with Richard Searl.
A special shout-out to the second-year broadcasting students at the School of Media, Art and Design in Oshawa in my talk radio class. If you're listening, there will be bonus marks. And if you're not, then marks will be deducted. Welcome to the Audio Imaginarium. This is a program for those of you who subscribe to the notion that there is more to reality than what we can see, hear, touch, smell, and taste. And this program is also for those of you who believe that, as Morpheus said in The Matrix, the world is being pulled over our eyes to blind us from the truth. Come on in and set a spell. You have found us and you are among friends. My little studio here in Liberty Village is very busy. We've got company. Albert the intern is here. Tim Spreen on the other side of the glass, pushing buttons and twisting knobs and dials as always. And also joining us in my studio, my special guest tonight, our guest host, our co-host, and the contest winner from my Follow the Truth Summit. You remember that back in November in Oshawa. Dwayne Hickey held the winning ticket, and so he got to help out and produce tonight's show. He actually helped choose our guests, and we had dinner just down the street together before the show. He's going to sit in on the show, co-host. Dwayne, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Richard. I want to just say that I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. The Audio Imaginarium is much bigger on the inside.
That's right. Do you remember those old Disney cartoons with a little tent, and you walk in the tent, and it's like you're inside a mansion or something? You're right. Well, welcome to the inner sanctum.
Well, thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an IT professional. I'm married. I have a daughter named Chantel, my wife Emily. They're probably listening or going to be listening soon. And it's been a wonderful journey getting to know all the different stories and conspiracies out there. It's really opened up my eyes, and you can really, like you said, dig deep and peel back the onion and see all the different layers of what's going on beneath the surface of the world that we live in.
Well, we're delighted to have you with us, and good job in helping line up tonight's show. You knew exactly who you wanted on the program. And we went out and we found him. Albert did, actually. And I knew immediately that our guest, John Searl, was right for this program the moment I logged onto his website. And I saw this quote from Arthur C. Clarke. When a distinguished but elderly scientist states that something is possible, he's almost certainly right. When he states that something is impossible, he is very probably wrong. John Searl is a professor and inventor of the Searl effect generator. The Searl effect generator, or SEG. Get this, it's a self-contained electrical power generator able to produce clean and sustainable energy. It's a magnetic prime mover that operates without friction and can supply electrical power to suit both home and industry. Let's find out more about the Searl effect generator. John Searl, welcome to the Conspiracy Show. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, and I thank you very much for offering me the time to talk to your listeners.
For those not familiar with the Searl effect generator, paint us a picture. What does this device look like? Please, in layman's terms.
Well, to look at it by an ordinary person, it does look like 3 solid rings, and each ring has a layer of rollers operating around it.
And these 3 rings, are they stacked one on top of the other?
No, they fold over each other.
They fold over each other.
Yeah.
They float over each other?
You're looking at 3 rings laid flat, and they all got set of rollers running around them. The first one has 12, the next one 22, and the final one 32. This creates a diode effect where the energy can only go outwards. It's not inwards.
Now, the genesis or the origins of the SEG date all the way back to the days following the Second World War. We're talking 1946 when you were just a young lad. Tell us about how this idea...
I started to prove that my dreams were correct, technically correct.
Well, tell us about your dreams that led to the creation of the SEG.
Well, the dream actually based itself on a simple game all children normally play called hopscotch.
Oh, yes.
That took me to what is called a matrix. And it's square 4, the matrix 4. In there, it says there's something wrong with your education. You have to search, find it, and correct it. And that is what I did from 1946. I was in the right place at the right time, learning the right type of job that made me think of the dreams and made me look into what the dreams were saying. And it proved that Isaac Newton was absolutely correct. It's not Newton proving I'm correct. I'm proving he is correct.
And what aspect of Newton's theory was correct? Are we talking about the laws of thermodynamics, or what are we talking about?
No, that's the error everyone's making. It's nothing to do with heat and the machine. It's to do with forces, that you have two forces playing on the mass. You've got one force coming from the force that you're creating, the force, and you've got a second one, right angles to it. The first one, if I was Newton, and I was at the lab now, and I'm looking at this structure, I went to lift a roller, I would notice a strong pull, magnetic pull. I would then know that the force you use it to hold that roller in place is magnetic.
Right.
Then I look at the second force that makes it move. So we have two forces acting on mass. So it comes in Newton's second law at the beginning, that force acting on a mass will unbalance the atoms, and electrons will be forced to move. In the movement of electrons, you'll create other forces to come into play. And the key one is, of course, naturally, momentum. That is what keeps the roller moving.
So these rollers, are they magnetic?
Yes. You see, under the law of Newton, two opposites attract.
Correct.
So we see the rollers are attracted to the plate. Therefore, there must be one must be negative, the other one must be positive.
Got it, yes.
Now, we have the problem here. Something odd is happening here. The rollers in the proper SUG do not touch the plate. How come that be? You've got this strong field pulling the magnet, the rollers in towards itself.
Right.
Yet, the rollers cannot touch that surface. The reason is that the way we build it, how we set the chemicals up, causes an eddy current to be created. And therefore, the eddy current stopped the roller dead from hitting the plate. We demonstrate this with a very powerful magnet at the lab. You cannot put that magnet on that copper plate. There's no way you could do it. That eddy current stops you dead.
Is it the energy produced by this eddy current, then, that you are harnessing for power?
Yes. Well, we are harnessing the eddy current to lift the rolls from the plate so there's no wear or tear and no noise. Now they're running free, flying. They're actually flying around the plate.
I understand. So the eddy current allows for the levitation, which means there's no friction, therefore there's no...
wear or tear involved.
That's right. And there's no waste. There's no loss in energy.
Now, you imagine, you've got a power unit in your house that won't wear out. It won't cause you any maintenance costs. Look at the money you'll end up in the year to spend on other things that you need.
But before, and I want to introduce you to my co-host tonight, Dwayne Hickey, who's a big fan of yours and was responsible for getting you on the program. But before we get to Dwayne, I have a question to ask, John, and you've been asked this countless times, I know. Is this, in fact, then, what you're describing, a perpetual motion machine?
Well, not really. People call it that. It's not. All it's doing is just recycling energy. Just recycling the energy.
All right. Let me introduce you to our co-host tonight, Dwayne Hickey. Dwayne, did you want to jump in with a question for Mr. Searl?
Hi, John, and thank you for coming on the program tonight. It's a pleasure to be talking to you right now.
It's a pleasure to talk to you as well.
I think what I'd like to say is you've created this wonderful device, and I don't know if we want to jump ahead a little bit, but I'd just like to know how soon would this be available in homes and industry?
There's three problems. Face it. First, it's greed. Second, it's ignorance. Third, is cost. Now, the problem is I have been blocked from producing the energy to go to the marketplace.
Not surprisingly.
Who want to own it.
Sure.
And that's the trouble today. STI still believes they own it and they have every right. And they are calling the public by fraud and deception. They do not own anything, not a cent. But they are blocking the finance we would get to get this job done quick. That's my big problem.
We're coming up on a break here, John, a commercial break. When we come back on the other side, we'll delve further into how this device operates and how it could benefit mankind, supply electrical power to both home and industry. Imagine, I know many of us may not be thinking about this right now because the price of a liter or a gallon to our American friends of gasoline has fallen significantly. However, imagine such a device in your home, in your factory. Think of the impact.
I used to have one in my home for 31 years.
Well, we'll find out more about that when we come back. John Searl, professor, inventor of the Searl effect generator, right here on The Conspiracy Show. Don't go away.
You're listening to The Conspiracy Show with Richard Syreet.
Hey, welcome back. Also joining us in studio is Dwayne Hickey, my special co-host and the winner of our contest at the Follow the Truth Summit held back in November. He won an opportunity to sit in on the show and help book the show, and he did a fine job. John Searl is with us. He claims he has the solution to our global energy crisis. What's more, he says he's had it for over 60 years, and he's regarded by many as the godfather of free energy science. Perhaps you've seen the John Searl Story, a documentary which came out in 2009, directed by Brad Lockerman. John, before the break, you were talking about the Searl effect, and I want to drill down a little bit more in this. Now, let's say, for example, you have this in your home. Is that correct?
Yes.
How is it being utilized? I mean, are you running all of your electrical needs based on this device? Are you totally off the grid, as it were?
I was totally running the whole house, demonstrating to the media day after day how good the system was.
And so you're entirely off the grid. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Now, the grid was on the house. I had to have the grid on. But I was using my own source to show the interviewers that we were running the whole house on this generator.
And where is it this energy coming from? Is it 0 point energy?
Well, the energy is all around us. We're wasting energy all the time. What the unit does, it attracts this energy back and compress it and get it into uniform motion so it can be reused again. But we don't burn it in the process. We just charge it up, and that charge is released at the end of the functions as energy we can use. So it's a converter of energy that's wasted.
But is there a prime mover or a prime energy source?
It's a prime mover. It's what we call a magnetic effort. It's a riding on a magnetic wave.
Okay, but do you have to plug it in, or do you have to turn it on, or how does it?
No. You can take it anywhere you like.
So it's portable. It's portable.
It's portable. Absolutely. That's what I wanted to make, and that is what we have absolutely achieved. Only now, because of cost, we have to try to find cheaper ways of doing it.
Well, why is it so expensive? How difficult is this to build? How many parts does it have, for example?
Well, that's that every roller you're looking at is 8 parts of 4 different materials. That's the first thing. Then how many units you have on the plate, the next plate got to have 10 more. The next plate, 10 more. What you're really looking at is that you've got a solid ring, round a solid plate, but we have divided it into 12 pieces on the first, and then we rolled it into a cylinder, so it can roll freely around that plate. So it's very simple to look at, but it is very difficult to do because it calls for a different type of magnetic effect than our present-day system.
And what material?
You cannot make it with our normal magnetizer. You have to have a very special one to do that.
What materials is it made from?
Well, first of all, we have to have a rare earth. The reason is it has a lot of extra electrons available to use. That gives you the kickstart to get it to start on its own. Then you need a reservoir material, which is an insulator, which controls the flow of electrons passing through it. So you don't get all the energy of the magnetic material inside flowing through quickly in one go. And then you just get a pulse, then second another pulse. That's no good. We have to smooth it out, and we do that with a plastic material. Then you have your accelerator. We call it accelerator. It speeds up the electrons to almost the speed of light, and it has a magnetic effect. Then the last material is the very thing no magnetizing company wants. It's a material that produces eddy currents. We need eddy currents to lift the roller from the surface because two lights repel. So you must have a highly negative point, and the rollers must be highly negative. So they repel, they lift away from the plate. They will not touch that plate. So you have a nice silent running machine.
Right. And how much space would this take up in your home? How big is this?
Well, for a domestic one, we're looking at something about, I would guess, from what we do, would be about 14 inches wide and 4 inches deep. That would sit
14 inches wide.
Outside wall or inside wall.
About the size of a dinner plate.
Forget about it.
About the size of a dinner plate.
Well, a little bigger, just a little bigger than a dinner plate.
That's remarkable. Let me turn it over to my special co-host tonight, Dwayne Hickey. Dwayne, do you have another question for Mr. Searl?
When you were, I watched a video on you, and when you were 14 and a half, you built this device in a home in London. How did you make it back then?
Well, the parts were made at the factory where I worked. I assembled them at home to do the research work as to what the effects would be. Because from the scientific world, they said the rollers would not stay on the surface of the plate. Certainly, if they did, you try to move and they will shoot off. But we proved them wrong in both cases.
John, again, I come back to the critics and the skeptics and the debunkers who would say you cannot have, one of the laws of thermodynamics is you cannot have more energy coming out than is going in. How do you get around that? What do you say to
I laugh at them because they're blind. They're lacking education. If you are putting a fuel out that attracts energy in, that's wasted. Now, from the sun, you have 100% of energy hits the earth, 70% goes back out because we don't know how to use it. The SEG knows how to use it. There are tons of energy out there, millions, uncountable electrons waiting for somewhere to go. And the SEG gives them that opportunity to find a place to go. So the SEG can continue. There is no burning of fuel involved.
And how much money would it take to start mass producing this? Let's say, for example, I don't know, one of the major oil companies decided, all right, the time is running out for the age of fossil fuels. Let's get behind John Searl's generator, and let's pump some money into it. How much money would it take to start mass producing this thing for home use?
To be honest, to set up a mass production unit from the ground floor, we're looking today, price, something like 55 million or even 68 million.
A drop in the bucket.
Yes. But, of course, when you look back to my days, to make an SEG, when you're doing it in the electrical power station, would really cost about £180 in English money for an SEG, because you've got all the tools and energy to make it.
So, but about 55, 60 million, did you say, or billion?
Yes, million.
Million.
Yes.
All right. Again, a drop in the bucket for a company to start mass producing this. Now, the other issue, of course, rare earths. They're called rare earths for a reason.
Yes.
And we know that, for example, countries like China are very busy buying up rare earths. Are there enough rare earths to allow for mass production of these devices so that every home in America, let's say, to begin with, could have one? Is there enough rare earth?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out all our materials are made in China. We have a good connection and interested companies who make the material precisely as I ask them to. No company in America would do it because they say it's too risky. You've posted these videos on YouTube and so forth, and Albert, I believe that on our slideshow, on our Hangout, there's a picture of this, correct? Yeah, well, people put out pictures how they see things and what they've seen. I have nothing to do with what goes out on the web.
No, but how is the media...
What I do is the writing of the technical books, which I'm now writing, the biggest one I've ever written for the general public.
No, but when
it will be 1,000 pages long.
Okay, but when, let's say, for example, fellow scientists, colleagues of yours, see this and they see it demonstrated, what are they saying? Are they writing peer-reviewed articles about this, for example?
Yeah, well, let's put it from my opinion of people from Boeing. When they demonstrate the system, they ask you, where does the fuel go in? And you just told them how the fuel go in. They're looking for a place where you put the gasoline in.
These are the folks at Boeing.
There is no place. Gas. The energy is all around us.
Right.
Billions and billions of free negative ions are sitting there waiting for somewhere to go. And the SEG attracts them.
I don't know. I find that hard to believe that Boeing would be so skeptical, given their work in anti-gravitics and so forth. We know about from the 1950s, but so Boeing isn't interested. Is there anyone that's shown interest, that's willing to invest in your device?
Well, let me say here, when John F. Kennedy was alive and president, he did try to get the Edwards Air Force Base to back this system.
Is that right?
Yes, that's true. We have put the details in my book. Again, I put them in this book. He was interested that America went to this technology, but on the major examining all the work, he couldn't find inertia. And because of that, just because of that, he said it was impossible for them to fund the technology.
Did you meet Jack Kennedy?
I didn't meet him. We talked. I was known by the workforce that he was my friend. And when it was announced he'd been killed, they told me when I arrived at where I'm sad to say, your friend is dead.
So you had many telephone conversations?
Yes, we had definite conversation with. It's not that. We also did a long letter to President Clinton when he was president, and it was put to music, and that should be seen on my website. You can actually hear it. Barry Stroller wrote the music, and I think it's some mature who read the letter to music.
And the website is searlsolution.com, correct?
Yes.
Searl, yes. Searl, solution.com. Let me throw it over to my colleague here again, Dwayne Hickey. Go ahead. Question?
So John, your device is basically pulling ions out of the air and electrons out of the air, and is it also purifying the air when it does this?
Oh yes, it cleans up the air. That's the beauty about it. Your room becomes negatively charged instead of positively charged. That means, for people listening, that you can work without getting eyesore, headaches, and things like that. And you don't suffer from disease so much because the dust is on the floor. Dust cannot float in a negative state. It can only float in a positive state. And if we can get the room nice negatively state, two things happen. Clean air, and you don't get tired out. I used to work a week without sleep. The press came every day, took me from work to the site where we were demonstrating the work, and then back to work. They would ask me, when do you sleep? And I would say, if I went to sleep, you would not have this meeting today.
Was Nikola Tesla an influence?
I don't know very much about Tesla, but I understand that he met up with the same problems I met up. Only he met up with Morgan.
J.P. Morgan, yes.
He did not want AC power on the market.
Well, he certainly didn't want AC power being transmitted through the air where it couldn't be metered, and that's for sure.
I can understand that with ease.
Well, which begs a question, John, and that is, this is a very disruptive technology, which may be why it's being stifled. And one could almost understand. Here we have the world economy and the world reserve currency, the U.S. dollar, which is essentially a petrodollar. If overnight, let's say, we were to replace all the the gas turbines and we were to get rid of the need for fossil fuel, wouldn't that cause the economy just to crash?
Well, that depends which way you're looking at it. SEG opens up a new dimension for employment. You can now work where we cannot possibly work at this time because fuel and that costs too much. But if we had the SEG, we can work the deserts, we can turn the deserts to a paradise, and we can get work for everyone. So there's no worry about shortage. How many people actually employed in petrol stations today? Perhaps 2 or 3 people. Now there must be 10 jobs they could do if it was powered by SEG.
That's true. This is a portable device. I mean, you don't need to be near a hydro generating station. You could take one of these things in the middle of the jungle, and all of a sudden you've got.
It doesn't matter about what the weather's like. You just turn the key and off you go. You can wave goodbye to every petrol station you pass.
All right, John, we've got to wave goodbye here. John, I've just got to wave goodbye for a moment here.
Never stop.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back and continue our conversation with John Searl, professor, inventor of the Searl effect generator. Right here on The Conspiracy Show, my name is Richard Syreet. Don't go away.
Different views make great conversation. This is The Conspiracy Show with Richard Syreet.
Welcome back. John Searl, known as the grandfather of free energy science, is with us, professor, inventor of the Searl effect generator, a self-contained electrical power generator, get this, able to produce clean and sustainable energy. It's a magnetic prime mover that operates without friction and can supply electrical power to suit both home and industry. But not surprisingly, we are not going to see this on the market anytime soon. Let's delve into that aspect a little further, John, if we could. Have you been approached, for example, I'm thinking back to people like Stanley Meyer and his water engine, who, according to legend, was approached by Big Oil. They wanted to buy his device, basically put it on a shelf so it would gather dust. Have you been approached by Big Oil?
Well, I have been. But there's something I'd like to point out which may interest you. I was in Canada in 1971. I went on TV and demonstrated the Searl effect, in which your government then invited me to lunch with the full cabinet.
Pierre Trudeau.
That would have stated that is what Canada needed. But I said that I've already been to the power people. They turned it down. They said yes, because they just paid out a lot of money to harness the water for the energy. and they won't allow anything like that into the country. But we had a long dinner party in which I ate nothing because they kept asking me questions. Then the Prime Minister said to me, "Aren't you hungry, John?" Well, I was. But how can you eat and talk at the same time?
Indeed. Well, John,
They meant well. They
Yes.
really wanted to see the SEG there in Canada.
Well, having said that, John, a gentleman that's been on this program a number of times, and he was the former Deputy Prime Minister, and that would be Paul Hellyer, the Honourable Paul Hellyer, who's very interested in free energy. In fact, he's just written a book called The Money Mafia, in which he describes how the international bankers, and I imagine he would throw big oil in there, are suppressing free energy devices like yours. Have you been in contact with the Honourable Paul Hellyer?
No, not to my knowledge.
That's a gentleman I think you'd like to talk to. Let me throw it. You mentioned your association and your friendship with John Kennedy, and I know my co-host Dwayne Hickey has a question about that. Dwayne?
So, John, do you think that might have had something to do with, your connection with Kennedy? Do you think that might have got him killed?
I think so. That's always been on my mind. That seems to be a good reason to stop the SEG if he was keen to get Edwards Air Force Base to fund the research work.
So you are leaning towards that as a motive, that his interest in free energy may have led to his assassination.
In my heart, I feel that way.
You mentioned some time ago on this program that there was a company or an organization, I believe you used the initials SEI, that was standing in the way, that was preventing this from coming to market. Was it SEI?
Yes.
What does SEI stand for? Who are these people?
That was the Searl technology. And they have, I'm not supposed to be talking about this, but they have told the people they own everything. I'd like the people to know they don't own nothing.
So
it's a dream.
This was a parent company that claims they own the rights
Yes.
to this technology, and you're disputing this.
Unfortunate.
Is there an ongoing court case?
That the companies don't want me to talk about it, as it's in solicitors' hands at this time.
All right. Is this in court at the moment?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Or will be.
We're coming up on another break here, but we'll start the discussion now. We'll continue after the break, and that is, are there other Searl effect generators elsewhere? Do other people have this device in their home, or are you the only one?
Now, there was two others out there. One was handed back to me when he recovered, and in case somebody else needed it, and the other one died, and we think the authorities dumped it because he had no relatives.
So the person that was in possession of this used it, and then when they died, it was destroyed? Is that the idea?
Yes. Well, it's all in this new book I'm writing.
And what is the name of this book, and when can we expect it to be published?
Well, the first part I hope to release soon. The second volume will be very quick after. And the third part, a section, they'll be 1,000 pages long.
Have you thought...
Every minute details. Tell you what to do, how to do it, how I did it to learn. I make it as simple as I can. I do the mathematics as simple as it's possible to do to help people to understand what they were not able to learn at school.
So this will be your legacy. You want to give this gift to the world.
Yes.
So have you thought about putting the instructions up on the Internet for free where anyone could download them?
Well, it will be. We'll be sending copies, each volume, to the media and top people, governments, so they can study it, so they can really see that I mean no harm to anyone, but good, and also for the benefit of the animals that we have to survive.
I can see the debunkers lining up right now to try and discredit you. I mean, obviously they've been trying to do that for many years. Do you have any friends on Capitol Hill? I know you had a friendship with Jack Kennedy.
Yes.
Do you have any allies in Washington now?
Yes. Bill Clinton did reply to John Thomas personally, who was working with me then in New York, and wish him all the success. As I say this book, yes, him and Carter did wish us success. They wrote the letter, the reply themselves personally, but the only president that actually tried to do something to have was President Kennedy.
All right.
And it's sad that he died for it.
John, we'll take one final time out. We'll come back and finish up our most intriguing conversation. Stay with us right here on The Conspiracy Show.
Shaking the world and seeing what falls. This is The Conspiracy Show with Richard Syreet on Zoomer Radio, AM 740.
And we roll along with our conversation with John Searl, the grandfather of free energy science, inventor of the Searl effect generator, which is about 70 years in the making. He first devised this device back in 1946 as a young lad in England. Now, John, is there any way this device and the energy source that you're tapping into could be weaponized? Is that a concern if, let's say, someone at DARPA were to get their hands on this?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't think people realize, the effects of the energy were demonstrated early in the 18th century. Late in that century, when movies came on, they used these effects that were being demonstrated at musical halls, universities, places like that, as showpiece. But they couldn't put it together as a motor. But then Einstein came along, and he proved that the atom did have all this energy in it, but he was determined it would take a lot more energy to get it out, which, of course, he was proved wrong. It did not take that amount of energy to get it out. The atom bomb proved that. Then along came the people who invented the ingredients, creating the machines. Then came this idiot, born in England in a workhouse, who put it all together as a motor, and has since been kicked for doing so. And today is still getting kicked for doing so. But whether they kick me or not, the SDG is coming to the market here in America and in China. We have signed a contract legally, and I guarantee, though I've got to go back to England to sort out matters there before I come back to get on with the work, we are going to get the SUG to the market, whether these people like it or not. I don't care a damn. I'm interested to save the planet. It's crying for help. I want to make sure the future generation have got something to live for and can live in a better world than we live today. I am determined to achieve that.
So, John, when do you expect to see your product out on the market?
Well, if we get the money in 2 years, it'll be on the market.
And where will it be unveiled? Will it be China?
We expect the first one, the demonstration will be here in the States.
In the United States?
Yes. And then we'll be, they are preparing factories in China to mass produce them.
There's been long rumored a community in Switzerland that is completely off the grid, an entire town. It's very secretive, and it has been suggested that this village or town in Switzerland may be using a device similar to yours. Do you know about this town, and what can you tell me if so?
No, I don't know about it, but if there are ways to produce electricity, agree, but they wear out because heat is involved.
Right, friction, right.
Yes, that's the problem they got. I'm looking for a project that do not have this friction problem, and the SUG don't have it.
Are you at all, is there any reason to be concerned with the fact that this device would be assembled in China? Obviously, I don't need to tell you, many people in the United States look to China as being a major threat.
China, of course, want to get established in the technology field. Under the contract, they will make the SEG except for the magnetic side, which will be done here in San Diego, USA. And we'll do it and send the part to them, and they'll just mass assemble them and sell them.
And your timeline, and you're quite confident, your timeline is within 2 years we could see...
2 years, if the money was in the bank today. I guess the money will come. It's just that there's been so much anti-stuff out on the web that sort of turn people off, take the risk. How can two people, different people, own the same technology and rights? Once we clear that up legally, I think we will see the money come in, and then we can say, from that moment, 2 years, we should be in mass production.
But surely, John, it would be very easy for an unbiased team of scientists to arrive at your home, test this, write a peer-reviewed journal article, which would announce to the world that the science behind the SEG is sound, repeatable, verifiable, according to the scientific method, case closed. What's the problem?
Well, they've done that in the past. The problem is people take their nutcases. They call all my workforce nutcases.
So even if you were to bring in, let's say, someone from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or I don't know, physicists from, or I guess a physicist would be the person best qualified.
Oh yeah.
From Harvard or Princeton. You're telling me that if they came and pronounced that the SEG is legitimate and it works according to everything that you've said, that they would immediately be discredited.
Yes, they say that Searl is poison is mine. That's what they do to all my staff on the web. They say they're mad.
Well, this is a real conundrum.
Every expert, Einstein, Newton, and everyone you can think of that changed the world for the better, were all called insane. That's why I say to the media when they ask, "Are you insane?" I say, "Well, I belong to a good union because all these great people were also insane."
That's right. You're in good company, to be sure.
Yeah, it's in good company.
Are you ever concerned about you're in your 80s now, you've lived a good life, but at any point, have you been concerned about your personal safety, given this disruptive technology and the threat that it poses to the established order?
Well, I had the days I've been threatened by people, but I just lock the door, tell them they'll be detained until I know who they are. By 4 o'clock in the morning, they're desperate, want to do and a drink, and they then tell me. Then I let them go. I don't worry about anyone. I just get on with my job, do what I have to do. That's all I'm concerned with.
What do your neighbors think of you, John?
Well, I don't know. I've never talked to them around here. But in Mortimer, the Atomic Works wrote a nasty letter because I wouldn't give them the IGV they were watching on television. So they wrote an anti to stop people investing in me, so that I'll be forced to give them the secret so they could make it. But unfortunately, the news had already got out about the Air Commodore of Great Britain, who said that John Searl said that this craft would not come back to the following Sunday. That was on a Sunday. By Thursday, they admitted that Searl must be right. It won't be coming back here till Sunday. Therefore, we are leaving and going back. When Searl comes out on the market, he will overrule the Americans and the Russians. He will be king and master of all aerospace. And that was from the Air Commodore on a Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. In which I had atomic worker there talk to me and Reverend George Nixon that I had there as witness, that he wanted to write an article to get the people to fund the work so I could stop having to go to work to get money to do the work. But then when he saw that particular flash, he turned on me and said, give it to him. I will. So he turned to the Reverend George Nixon and said, make him give it to me. And he said, I can't. What are you offering him? And I said, nothing. But you get royalties. And think of all the people who put in work. And Reverend George Nixon said, you need some money now.
Right. John, let me ask you this. And I don't mean to be flippant here, but you are well into your 80s. My concern would be, at this point, is it possible that this technology could die with you?
Of course, that's always a worrying problem. That's why I'm writing this book, to make sure every detail, how I learned it, how it goes together, how it fits the dreams, so that people can make it. If they really understand, it's the magnetizer that's got to be changed. And that is what here in San Diego at the lab, they are building the new type of magnetizer, which I hope will cut the cost down to quite a bit.
Right.
So we can keep the generator at the same price around the other generators' costs. And in Canada, when I went from firm to firm in the 70s, they said, if the generator runs for 2 years, we would buy it.
Okay.
Let me say that I see no reason why it shouldn't run 2 years. And I see no reason why it shouldn't keep on running for the next generation and the next generation until time itself stops.
What would the price point be on one of these SEGs for home use once they're mass-produced? How much would one expect to pay?
At the moment, it looks like it would be about $16,000.
$16,000.
You've got to, but just bear in mind, you've got something that you're going to pass down to generations and generations. It's an investment.
Right. So, yes, $16,000 amortized over 70, 80 years, that's pretty good.
And could that run a household, or could that run a community?
Run your house and a big swimming pool, keep it hot in the winter, keep it cool in the summer.
Could it be adapted for use in an automobile?
Oh, yes. It's perfect to make all your, say, if you have one of these mobile homes, it could supply all the heat for motion and also for cooking and everything. In fact, I hope it won't be too long before we can take a mobile home and tour America and demonstrate cookers plugged in on it, and that show that it cooks just as good as any cooking in your house does.
Well, John, listen, I wish you many years, my friend, so that you can complete this most important work. And we look forward to the book, Volumes 1 and 2, which we hope will be out soon. Would love to have you back on the program when those books are ready.
I wish it was at the lab, so I could actually show you how Einstein and Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, would answer what they were saying. And you would be able to then realize that it does not break any laws whatsoever. In fact, it proves them to be correct.
That's fascinating. John, it's a real pleasure and a privilege to have met you, sir. Again, many years, and I look forward to speaking with you again. Good luck.
Thank you very much. And I wish you a long and happy life.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
John Searl. Wow. What did you make of that, Dwayne Hickey?
I loved it. I can't wait for the device to come out on the market to read his book. It'll be very interesting.
Well, I obviously I wish him well. I'm not skeptical about the device necessarily. I'm not a physicist. What I'm skeptical about is the likelihood that it will come to market in 2 years. I think the forces lined up against him are so powerful that they would stop at nothing to prevent something this disruptive from coming to market until they're ready for it to come to market. That's my only concern. Hey, again, John Searl and his website, if you want to check it out for yourself and learn about the Searl effect generator, the website, www.searlsolution.com. Searl, that's S-E-A-R-L, searlsolution.com. My website, richardsyreet.com. That's your portal to the Conspiracy Show. Say hello on Twitter, @RichardSyreet. And as always, follow the truth.